the Mercedes-Benz Now, one of my favorite cars ever is the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing from the 1950s. But today we have the spiritual successor of that very car, the Mercedes-Benz AMG SLS. The SLS is also the first Mercedes-Benz which is built, designed completely from scratch, entirely by AMG. And SLS stands for Super Leicht Sport. That's German for super light sport. The SLS was assembled mainly by hand, and it's been built between 2010 and 2014. Now this particular one is from 2010, and it has a 6.2 liter V8 engine producing 571 horsepower, all of course on the rear wheels. It has a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox with the pedal shifts on the steering wheel, which are stuck on the wheel, not like Ferrari or Lamborghini. So when you turn the wheel, you can't shift. And with a car like a Porsche, a McLaren or this SLS, they get it. Just like a real racing car, the pedals should be stuck to the steering wheel. It weighs around 1600 kilograms, and apparently just over 10,000 SLSs were sold worldwide. Now, a lot of people say and think that the Lamborghini Miura was the true first supercar. And of course, the Lamborghini Miura is a great car, a legend. But I think the 300 SL was the first true supercar. Now this car is the spiritual successor of the 300 SL Gullwing. And the 300 SL was derived from a racing car. It was a Formula 1 car, which in 54 and 55, Juan Manuel Fangio and Sterling Moors won 9 out of 12 Formula 1 races with. Now out of that Formula 1 car, Mercedes-Benz decided to develop a racing car that could compete in the World Sports Car Championship, and that was the 300 SLR Uhlenhaut. The 300 SLR Uhlenhaut, of which there are only 2 of, is worth around 100 million. The 300 SL Gullwing was derived from the 300 SLR, the Uhlenhaut. The racing didn't continue, so Mercedes-Benz, they cancelled their racing program. So one of those 300 SLRs was being used as a company car by the designer of the car, Rudolf Uhlenhaut. And you might wonder why this car and the 300 SL have the Gullwing doors. Well, that is because the 300 SLR was a tubular chassis, and the side was so high that a normal door would never fit. You could never get in and out of the car in a normal way if you would have a normal door. So that is the reason why also the SLS still has the Gullwing doors. So right now I'm standing here at the racetrack with the SLS, where Juan Manuel Fangio and Sterling Moors were racing their Mercedes-Benz Formula 1 cars in the 50s.
For 100 laps of Zandvoort, 265 miles at around a 90 average. For Sterling, it's the old game of follow the leader. And once the pit warns him not to stay too close in the blast of flying sand behind Fangio's exhaust. The 2 Mercedes, which have led throughout, roar on towards the checkered flag. The race is won by the 2 finest drivers in the world.
So hopefully this will be the place where Max Verstappen, yes, I'm a fan, will start his Formula 1 race in 2020. Where the predecessor of the SLS, the McLaren SLR, dropped in value after it was sold new, this SLS doesn't seem to have that problem. I don't know if that's a problem or not, because if you want to buy one, it's still very expensive. This car is almost 10 years old, and it's still has the same value as when it was brand new. The weight distribution of the SLS is nearly perfect, with 47% at the front and 53% at the back. And that's also mainly due to the placement of the engine. Let's check it out. Open this enormous hood or bonnet. Look how far it opens. So here you can see the placement of the engine very well. So you see the front wheels are over here and the complete engine is behind the front wheels. Now, climbing into the SLS is very easy, as you've seen, because you also have this open part. So this is quite high and quite wide, yes, true, but still you have enough space to just glide in. Now, for smaller people it might be a problem to reach the door from here. Even I have to get out of the seat a little bit to reach the door to be able to close it. AMG engineers refused to put an automated door system in this car because that would add another 41 kilograms. Now, it's quite cool and everything to have Gullwing doors on your car, but what if you roll over with this thing? You wouldn't be able to open the door. Now, some of you might know already what happens, but it's worth mentioning. There are little explosives here above me in the hinges which explode when the car rolls over and is laying on its roof. So it's not a very big explosion, of course, but just enough to break the hinge to be able to push the door away from you. Now, this beautiful SLS is for sale at my good friend's private collection cars. So if you might be interested in purchasing such a beauty, just hit them up. So here we are, the end of the day, and I just realized I completely forgot to say welcome to PureDrive. Directly start the engine. Let's drive. But I directly want to go to Sport Plus. Turn this into manual, so we can shift ourselves. Oh, the sound in this thing is great. Those are Mercedes AMG engines, the 6.2s, always sound really good. So let's hit it. Oh my god. Oh, I just felt wheel spin. Yeah, it's a torquey engine, but still you do have to pull it up until around 4,000 RPM before the real fun starts to happen. And it's, especially in the Sport Plus setting, it's quite a stiff car, stiff suspension, and therefore very sharp. I've never driven the SLS before, and somehow I always thought that this car would feel a bit heavier and would feel a bit, I don't know, it wouldn't be as sharp as I feel it is, especially on the front. And you just feel it, the front wants to turn in and it just pulls the rest of the car with it. And then it's only up to you, especially when you have the systems off, and then it's only up to you how much throttle you apply. And if you just apply a bit too much, wow. Okay, this is the perfect car to go through tires as fast as possible. My BMW M3, E46 M3 feels heavier while driving it hard than this car. The gearbox is okay. It's not the fastest gearbox. Of course, it's not new anymore. Okay, maybe you've seen it there. I shifted up and it took a little bit. I was around 6,500 RPM. I shifted up and it just went like a little bit. For a dual clutch, I don't think that's very good, but on the other hand, it's not disturbing. I think when you have this car, when you drive this car, you get used to it, especially with all the great things that this car has. I'm not comparing this car, or this gearbox I mean, with the latest gearboxes. Those are very fast, and also I know the AMG GT, and I've driven also the GTR. And the GTR is such a good car. I've driven it very fast at the racetrack. I couldn't film it. That was a big shame. So I think I'll do a review soon, I hope, on the GTR. But I can tell you already that the GTR, of course, it's a better car than this. But it's just the age. But if I could choose between the GTR and this SLS, with its history, the Gullwing doors, the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it drives, the emotion it gives you, I would choose for this SLS. I don't know, maybe it's because I've done my homework on this car and on the heritage of this car. But every second I'm driving this car, I'm feeling the heritage and I'm thinking about it. The only thing I'm missing right now, here we go again, is the manual gearbox. I would love to drive this thing with a proper manual gearbox. Now this car doesn't have the ceramic brakes, but the brakes are really good. It stops really good. It gives you nice, that's what I like in a braking pedal, that when you press the brake really hard, that it's firm. That's what this brake pedal does. It's firm and the car stays very stable. Here we go again, one more time. I will brake very hard into the ABS. Very, very, very good. I'm quite impressed by this thing. It's so beautiful. At least to me. Of course, that's a taste thing. So for some people it might be ugly. For some people it might be beautiful. But I just think it's so elegant and badass at the same time. What a beast! What a beast! Wow! What a toy! It looks very serious. But once you put it in Sport Plus in the manual, you turn off the traction control, stability control, it just becomes a very, very fun toy. I was a bit afraid when I was looking at those seats, because of course these are not bucket seats. I was afraid that the side support would not be very, very good. But it is. Because of course in many cars nowadays you can pump up the, how do you call these things, bolsters. You can make yourself squeeze into the seat just with the press of a button. So the support is very, very good, especially for comfortable seats like this. Okay, let's put it back in the normal comfort mode. And just start cruising. Wonderful. Wow. Wait, when you're cruising you need to do this a little bit. That's better.